from the depths of the vault. This is Eerie's Vault Live, your number one stream for the uncanny, the weird, the unexplained, and all of that good stuff that we love so much. Good evening, everybody, or indeed good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the multiverse you may be, and welcome to the show. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Lehan Eerie. We're going to open up the phone lines later. Naturally, it's a call-in show after all. So if you want to be on the show, there'll be some instructions on how to do that in about a half an hour's time. But first, let's begin, as always, with a shout-out to those wonderful, wonderful patrons. In no particular order, we have Andrew Dewey, Heather Maund-Jones, Natalie Leach, Pamela Peffer, Predatory House Elf, that's right, Vincent Hegeland, Baroque Lobster, Ben Hurl, Brian Henderson, Buster Piles, Chris Slee, E.J. Osborne, Greg Russell, Jerry Shelton, Louise Matthews, Mr. E, Adam Mitchell, Amanda Redruth, Steadbot, Todd Van Voris, Zach T, Aaron Osborne, BizJadish143, Catman, David Morris, Gaynor Smith, Ginger Ninja. I can't tell if I'm repeating these now or not. Who else? Harry Webb 46, Iron Bug, John Diver, and John Douglas. Thank you, patrons. Oh, wait, I think there are more. Johnny A, Matt T, Paul L, Pill Collins, Ramona Craighill, Rudolph, Hooker, Ryan, Sawbus, and Stu Graham. That really is everybody. Gosh, that list is growing all the time, isn't it? And if you're curious about the Patreon and what you get from it, you get various bits and pieces. You get access to a interactive map of the UK with hundreds now. There must be hundreds of sightings and cases plotted out that you can interact with, and you can click into them and you can read about them. Some of them link to an episode of Eerie's Vault about that very thing. Some of them link to files and clippings and research resources about those cases as well that are held within the Patreon. Occasionally there's the odd video, although I must admit I probably haven't done one of these for about a year, where we might go on location. I think I did 2 last year, where we did the Ripperston Farm location visit in Wales, and we did Wollerton Park as well, where the gnomes live. So we must get out and do some more of those when the weather improves a little bit. And, of course, you get your name in the credits and bits and bobs. There is a free option as well, so if you're not too sure, you can go and you can join for free, where some of that is available, and you can decide if it's for you. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Our poll tonight: so was the Patterson-Gimlin film a hoax all along? This is what I need to know. Who have we got in the chat today? Let's have a look. Sheppy, hello, welcome. Liz, welcome to the show. Adrian Mariner, hello Adrian, and welcome to the show. Man with a Pan, good evening to you too. Mr. Buster Piles is here, but he's making something to eat. Carry on, chaps, we will do, sir. We will do. And you must tell us about the cat later. Baroque Lobster, hello, sir, welcome. Stephen Truthseeker, good to see you here. Darren Jump, good evening, Darren, welcome. Cat's Life, nice to see you, Cat's Life. Paul Williams, good evening to the Fellowship of the Vault, indeed, and hello, Paul. Fleur is with us, hello, Fleur, welcome. Milia, 10 after 10, says, glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too, welcome. Theme Queen UK, hello, Theme Queen, welcome to the show. Who else? We mustn't miss anybody out. Purple Pipkin, hi there, welcome. And Mark Harvey, where's the number to call in? Mark, at about hour, we will be giving all the instructions that are required. That includes all the phone numbers you can use, the email addresses you can use, everything. You hang tight for another 21 minutes. You'll have that information at your fingertips. First, though, some eerie news. I've been reading a lot about mantid-type aliens recently. It seemed a natural follow-on from this topic cluster, as they call them, of Nordic humanoid types that we've been enjoying during March. And I'm about to transition into a topic of mantids for next month's sort of cluster of videos. And these tall, insectoid-like figures apparently resemble upright praying mantises, typically reported not as frontline abductors as such, but as observers, supervisors, or even controllers when people have encounters or contactee experiences. They seem to have an elevated position in the encounter hierarchy described by experiencers. Increasingly, reports are portraying them as directing activity rather than performing it. Smaller entities, the Greys, are said to carry out procedures, while the mantis figures stand apart, watching. What is interesting is not that these accounts exist, because people can say many things, can they not, but they have been recorded since at least the mid-20th century, so quite a while. A Cincinnati case from 1957, for example, involved a witness reporting a 3-foot mantis-like figure shortly after a UFO sighting, one of several early insectoid descriptions preserved in abduction archives. Recent writing within UFO research circles increasingly treats them not simply as another species, but as something closer to an administrative presence, sometimes described as medical authorities or teachers or overseers, often associated with altered states of consciousness and telepathic communication. Witnesses describe beings of a height between 6 and 8 feet usually, triangular insect-like head, large forward-facing eyes, black and enormous, elongated limbs, and an impression of intense intelligence rather than hostility. Apparently they are terrifying to look at, as one might imagine. Experiencer communities say that mantid entities are sometimes described as the least frequently reported but most psychologically impactful type of encounter figure. There are many stories of these figures coming to witnesses and telling them that they are their mothers. Yes, quite. This is something I'm going to be looking into next month. I'm quite excited about taking this one on. Mantid aliens. What do we know about that? You tell us in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, if you know anything about that topic. Over to Mars now, and for many years the story of an ancient water on Mars has been written largely on its surface, in dry riverbeds and eroded channels and unmistakable outlines of long-vanished lakes. But now, some of the most important evidence yet that the planet was once habitable is coming not from what we can see, but what was from being hidden beneath the ground for billions of years. This discovery, I found out, comes from the Jezero crater, a landing site of NASA's Perseverance rover, which has spent the past several years exploring what was once the basin of an ancient lake. From orbit alone, scientists could already see vast fossilized river deltas stretching across the crater floor, unmistakable signs that water flowed there quite a long time ago, billions of years we're talking. But Perseverance has now revealed something even older. Using its ground-penetrating radar, the rover has detected buried sediment layers more than 35 meters beneath the surface, almost twice as deep as previous scans, and within those layers lie the traces of an even earlier river and delta system. These newly identified structures may date back as far as 4.5 billion years, placing them among the oldest preserved river environments ever identified anywhere beyond Earth. In effect, the Jezero crater appears to record not just one episode of flowing water, but several. According to Emily Cardarelli of the University of California, Los Angeles, who led the study, this pushes the timeline for sustained surface water on Mars significantly further back than many researchers expected. And that matters, because on Earth, river delta environments are among the best places for preserving microscopic fossils. If, indeed, these conditions did exist on Mars, then these buried layers may represent some of the most promising locations yet identified in the search for ancient life beyond our planet. What do we think of that one? Imagine finding fossils on Mars. And I read today that NASA has a $20 billion, is it a 10-year plan or something, to put a colony on the moon as well. Can you believe this is happening in our lifetimes, ladies and gentlemen? I cannot. Would you have ever thought you'd be alive to see such things? We are progressing at an incredible rate. Attention has turned back to 3I Atlas lately, with recent spectroscopic observations suggesting that this visitor from another stellar system contains an unexpectedly large concentration of deuterium, a stable isotope of hydrogen that includes an extra neutron in its nucleus. On its own, deuterium is not rare in cosmic terms. It is found throughout the interstellar medium, but its importance lies elsewhere, because when combined with tritium, another hydrogen isotope containing 2 additional neutrons, deuterium becomes one of the most efficient fuels known for nuclear fusion. The very reaction scientists will hope one day power advanced clean energy reactors on Earth. And it is precisely this detail that has attracted the attention of, guess who? I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. That's right, Avi Loeb, who has previously suggested that some interstellar objects passing through our solar system might, at least in principle, represent technological artifacts rather than natural debris. Now, I've sort of given up listening to Loeb. He just seems to be making more and more outlandish claims every time I watch him on a video. However, this new evidence comes from 2 recent research papers analysing infrared data recorded by the JWST, that's the James Webb Space Telescope. These observations revealed what researchers described as an unexpectedly high ratio of deuterium to ordinary hydrogen in methane released from the object, an extremely rare detection in any interstellar body observed at close range. What does this mean? Does this mean that 3I Atlas might indeed be nuclear-powered? Well, it may not simply be an interstellar traveller, let's put it that way. It may be an ancient fragment of a planetary system that formed 10 to 12 billion years ago, long before our own sun existed. A sort of preserved chemical record from a time when the galaxy was still young. A lot of astronomers regard this explanation as sufficient, but Loeb, of course, has raised a different question. If deuterium is one of the most efficient fusion fuels known, then what does it mean to find such an unusually high concentration of it inside a single interstellar object passing through our neighbourhood? Indeed, what does it mean? Do we have a nuclear-powered obelisk skirting our stratosphere? What's going on? Consciousness is something that we discuss often on this channel, and for centuries consciousness has seemed like the most obvious fact of human existence. We experience the world, we think, we remember, we reflect. Well, we remember sometimes. I tend to forget a lot as well, but it appears self-evident that awareness is something real and pretty much fundamental. But modern neuroscience is beginning to suggest something stranger. A growing number of researchers now argue that consciousness may not be what we assume it is at all, and instead it could be a constructed interface, a simplified internal model that the brain generates to help us survive, rather than a direct window onto reality itself. The idea emerges from several overlapping lines of research. One comes from studies of perception, The human visual system, for example, contains a literal blind spot where the optic nerve leaves the retina, yet we never see a gap in our field of view. The brain quietly fills in the missing information, creating a seamless illusion of continuous sight. Scientists increasingly suspect that something similar may be happening with consciousness as a whole. In this view, awareness is not a mirror of the world. It is a construction. Philosopher Keith Frankish has suggested that consciousness may function much like an optical illusion, useful, persuasive, but not fundamentally accurate. According to this interpretation, the mind evolved to deliver information that improves survival, not information that faithfully represents reality. Other researchers have taken the argument in the opposite direction. Instead of seeing consciousness as a trick produced by the brain, they propose that it may exist independently of biology altogether. Biophysicist Douglas Jovan, for example, has suggested that intelligence might be a property of the universe itself. Yes, we've discussed that, haven't we, on this show? With brains acting less like generators of awareness and more like receivers, tuned into a wider informational structure already present in nature. Still another possibility comes from quantum biology. Experiments here involving microscopic structures inside neurons, known as microtubules, suggest they may influence whether an organism remains conscious under anesthesia. Some researchers interpret this as a tentative support for the controversial ORCHOR theory, whatever that says, proposed by Roger Penrose, and Stuart Hameroff, which argues that consciousness may arise from quantum-level processes operating inside the brain cells. That must be or some orchestrated optical reality or something. I want to know what that stands for, but it doesn't say. None of these explanations, of course, solve the problem of what consciousness is. They just underline how much disagreement there is about it. But what is clear is that the familiar intuition that consciousness is straightforwardly real in the way we experience it is no longer taken for granted by science. It has instead become one of the deepest open questions about what it means to be human. And Bigfoot. For nearly 60 years, the Patterson-Gimlin film has been the single most analysed piece of Bigfoot evidence ever recorded. It is only 59 seconds long, silent, slightly unsteady, shot on 16mm film beside Bluff Creek in Northern California in October of 1967. And as I speak, I'm looking at the framed copy of Argosy magazine in which this story broke originally, and next to it a signed Sasquatch field guide from Jeffrey Meldrum. But that brief sequence, the figure later named Patty turning to look over its shoulder, effectively defined what Bigfoot looks like in the modern imagination. Now, and I must thank Buster for pointing me in this direction, now a new documentary premiering at SXSW in 2026. In fact, I think it has already sort of had a preview, hasn't it? Claims that it might finally change how we understand this footage. The film is called Capturing Bigfoot. It's directed by Mayak Evans, that's M-A-R-Q. And its central claim rests on something extremely unexpected to me. A second reel of film that had apparently been locked away for decades in a private safe. This reel surfaced after the death of a Boeing film department technician named Norm Johnson, whose daughter contacted Evans after discovering the canister amongst her father's belongings. When the footage was developed, what emerged was not simply background material connected to the famous 1967 encounter. It was something more provocative. Now, I haven't seen this yet, but apparently the reel shows a similar Bigfoot-like figure, somewhat slimmer in build than the Bluff Creek subject, walking into woodland terrain that closely resembles the later filming site. Crucially, Markings on the film stock suggest it dates from 1966. Now, I'll throw a caveat in there. It depends who you listen to. If you talk to Bill Munns about this, he will tell you that there is nothing on the film that gives an exact date. So the date is already in question. I haven't seen it yet, but the date is already in question. But apparently the documentary is saying that this is from about a year before the famous Patterson-Gimlin film. Evans's interpretation is that this represents a trial run, a rehearsal, a test shoot, let's say, that was never intended to survive. Now, if that's correct, the implication is enormous, isn't it? The most famous Bigfoot film ever recorded may not have captured an unknown primate at all, but a planned performance. The documentary then builds outward from that discovery. It revisits the long-standing claim by Bob Hieronymus, who for decades said he was the person inside the suit. That claim was always sort of on the margins of the story, partly because no physical suit was ever recovered. But Evans says the new footage strengthens that case, that something staged was taking place before Bluff Creek. And perhaps most striking of all, the film includes testimony from Roger Patterson's son Clint, who reportedly states that he had known for years privately that the footage was not genuine. That alone makes this documentary important, but what makes it genuinely interesting to me is that it runs directly against conversations I personally have had myself with researchers who were convinced that Patterson-Gimlin subject represented a real biological creature. I have spoken with Bill Munns in the past about the Bluff Creek site itself. We went into some great detail about the type of soil that the creature was walking on and all that kind of thing. And he continues to argue now, and he's in the documentary as well, apparently. He continues to argue that the figure's movement and proportions and muscle structure are not consistent with a costume performance. Bill Munns, of course, is a costume expert. Even taking this new reported rehearsal footage into account, he still says that. I also did correspond with Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, who's sadly no longer with us. He sent me casts of Patty's feet. And I found myself perhaps 80-20 in favour of it being authentic at the best of times. And honestly, that's still roughly where I am right now. So I'm not convinced yet because I haven't seen the new show or the new documentary. Because all we have is the claim of a new reel of film. There's no sort of frame-by-frame technical assessment yet. Does it match Patty's gait? Is it the same terrain? Is it the same camera? Is it the same operator? These are questions that will matter once it becomes widely available, of course, won't it? And if it turns out to be true, the Patterson-Gimlin film stops being a suggestion of a hoax and becomes a definite one, doesn't it? And that will be pretty upsetting for me, and that might well seal the deal for Bigfoot, as far as I am personally concerned. For now, though, I remain cautious until I've seen the documentary itself and examined what this newly recovered reel actually shows. The Patterson-Gimlin film still sits where it always has for me, 80-20 on it being real. That's 80% real, 20% no, it can't be. So I'm still not convinced, and according to the poll tonight, which has vanished. Oh, there it is. 41% of you are still not convinced, so you're along with me. 22% say absolutely the Patterson film was a hoax all along. 27 say absolutely not. And 11% of you say you always knew that it was. It's divisive, isn't it? The chat is buzzing away here. I'm attempting to catch up with it. I can say James. Hello, James. Welcome. I can see James saying Hollywood special effects experts have looked at the film and it's not a giant human suit. It's a totally real Sasquatch. That's the 80% of me as well, James. We've got Tiffany Owens, who's, hello Tiffany, welcome, who's saying, I know we don't know everything, so I'm willing to concede Sasquatch is possible. Still not sure about the film, but it too could possibly be legitimate. It quite could, couldn't it? That's not a sentence, is it? It quite could. It could quite. Paul says Patterson was making a Bigfoot film. Wouldn't be unusual to have prepared a bloke in a costume for some part in the film. Yet when they found the real thing at Bluff Creek, all plans changed. Yes, and that's one of Munz's arguments, I think, is that perhaps it really was a test run for a segment in the documentary that they were filming. Maybe it was the money shot, you know. Who'd expect to find a real one? So there you've got one. You can just film whenever you like. And it may have been Hieronymus in the suit for the test run. And that means Hieronymus was telling the truth, but about that part of the story and not Patty. It's a mess, frankly, and I cannot wait for the documentary. Another documentary coming out is the Bob Lazar documentary. The name of it escapes me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can find out what that is during this quick break, then, yes, tell me what it is. I think, is it S4 or something? Cannot wait to see that either. Here we go. Let's tell you how to take part in the show. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air instead. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird. I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's right, the unexplained, as I say in that clip there. Very good. The lines will be going live shortly, but here's the rules of the road, okay? If you want to be on the show, the numbers to call will be, and in fact are, scrolling along the screen right now. We have a UK number, which is 0141 673 3743. That's 0141 673 3743. We have a New York City number for people in America, which is 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. And if you're outside the New York City but still in America, it is of course 1-929 Mr. Eerie. For those of you not in the UK and not in America, you can still contact the show on WhatsApp 07903 775 899. It's scrolling across the screen there as we speak. Excuse me. And you can email the show at eeriesvault@gmail.com. Okay. So the rules of the road. What do you want to share? You share stories that have happened to you. You share stories that you've heard happen to somebody else. You can talk about the philosophy of the paranormal, about consciousness, about the afterlife, about ghosts, cryptids, monsters, aliens, UFOs, all that stuff. You can tell us your favorite books on the topic. You can tell us your favorite movies on the topic. You can discuss existing cases like the Sandown clown is a favourite of mine, or Bigfoot. In fact, that's our key topic tonight. You want to talk Bigfoot? Anything that you want to talk that is in the high strangers category, let's go for it. Okay, no bad language if you can help it. No politics, please. No hatred. We are about paranormal mystery and not modern madness. By participating in a call, of course, you consent to being broadcast live and possibly in edited clips. I don't share your number, I don't share your identity, and messages sent to the WhatsApp channel do vanish in 24 hours. Really, the rule is have fun and don't say anything you wouldn't want on YouTube forever. And it is you that makes the show. It's your knowledge, your experience, your opinions. That's what makes this show interesting for other people out there listening, many of whom will have had similar experiences to you in their lifetime. And it's what makes the show interesting for me too. So, one more time, here is how to take part. Here are the numbers. Just one more time. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird. I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. That's right, and the lines are now open. That's very small, isn't it, that text on the screen? Is it legible, the text there with the numbers scrolling around? Maybe this one's bigger. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's right, we're back with the big text screen, so the lines are open for you tonight, ladies and gents. What I have here is, I had an experience in the early 90s with, gosh, really? Okay. That's interesting. I won't spoil that. It was reported to a local author who catalogues... Well, we're going to go in... Oh, I'll come back to you on that one. We have another call coming in on the live system. Hello, you're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show. Oh, I haven't answered it. Hello, you're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Oh, sorry, I was just a bit thrown then because it's on the. We've got it on the TV as well.
Oh yes, yeah.
I sent a message a couple of minutes ago about a ghostly occurrence I had back in the early 90s with a horse.
Yes, it's fascinating. I want to hear about this ghostly horse. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was very late at night. Are we live on air by the way?
We are live on air, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just checking. So I was in my early 20s and I've got a really important interview the next day. I've got to leave for work, leave really early. And I couldn't sleep and I didn't want to go to bed because I knew I wouldn't sleep. So I used to go out with an air rifle. It lived in quite a rural place in Bedfordshire. And there's some fields up the road from me. I'd grown up there, so I knew all the fields really well. And there's a road called Thurley Road. And I decided to go out there with my air rifle, and I had a lamp on top. I used to go lamping rabbits. And so I thought, what would take my mind off the interview the next day would be a little wander out in the fields with the air rifle. So I drove up to this field. It had no gate on it. It was open onto the road for part of it, so there was no cattle in there or anything like that. So I just pulled in there, got my gun out, and started walking down this field towards some woods that were down there. Pitch black. It was around midnight, so no one else around. So it's very rural. And as I was walking down, I kept my lamp off, so I couldn't see anything, but I knew where I was going because I knew the field so well. And as I was walking down there, I felt and heard horses' hooves galloping towards me. Really, you could feel it shaking in the ground, not just the sound, but the whole feeling of a heavy horse running towards me.
Yeah.
Immediately put the light on from a gun, which is a powerful lamp, and there was absolutely nothing there at all. But I had the whole experience of it coming from a distance towards me, the hooves, the vibrations in the ground, everything.
Yeah, the full Monty.
Yeah, it was just as if a horse had run by me, at speed. And if a big animal like a horse runs by you at speed, you know about it. There's no mistake. It's not like a rabbit rustling. It's a big animal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no mistaking it. And I was just completely perplexed by it, and I wasn't that shaken by it. I was just completely puzzled because I had my lamp on, quickly swept around, nothing there at all, and I knew there was no animals kept in the field, familiar with it, and there was no gate on the field. It was, so it was never used for any livestock. Anyway, it was kind of, I always enjoyed telling people about it as a sort of thing, because I knew in my mind that it had to have been, it had to have been a horse. You can't mistake that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I told my brother and mum and dad about it and all that sort of thing. And then a few years ago, bearing in mind that's quite a long time ago, but my brother messaged me about 3 or 4 years ago saying he'd just been listening to a podcast by a lady who lives in Bedfordshire, and she writes books about hauntings in Bedfordshire, and she compiles any stories local people have got about anything that's happened in Bedfordshire. And she releases these books, and I can't remember what her name was now. I've got a feeling it was Rose something, but I'm not sure. And he said, I wonder if she'd like to hear about your ghostly horse experience. So I thought, you know what, why not? She can write it down, and it'll be sort of catalogued then, won't it?
Nothing to lose, is there? Yeah.
Well, no, and she obviously would find it interesting, and other people who read her books might find it interesting. So he gave me her name because he'd just listened to this podcast and said she was really interesting. And I looked her name up online, found it, emailed her, that was it. And I gave her a quick outline of what happened. And she phoned me back and she said, I'm just interested to hear about your story. So I told her about it, and she said, after she'd finished listening to me, she said, this is quite interesting, actually. She said, because you might be surprised to hear that along that little road, there was a farmer working on a fence further up, or a hedge, doing some repairs, and he had exactly the same experience. Where a horse, he was working on the fence, repairing it, and he heard this horse running up to it. He knew that there was nothing in that field, as being the farmer, and it galloped up to him, and he looked around in fright, thinking something was going to crash into him, and nothing there.
Gosh.
As if it sort of jumped over him, but the road's the other side of the hedge, sort of fence. So yeah, and she said that actually happened just within 100 yards or so of where you're talking about, because I gave her the coordinates and everything. And so that kind of said to me, well, there's something
happened, didn't it?
Going on
yeah
there.
yeah That's an incredible thing. And imagine, and without seeing anything, just all
Yeah,
the sense of it being there. Yeah.
yeah. But if a horse, say if a horse runs past you, um, one of the few senses really you need is your sight. Actually, if you had no sight at all and a horse ran by you during the day, you'd know it was a horse.
Yes.
There's no mistake in it.
Yeah.
The sound of the hooves, it was the vibrations in the ground that really surprised me, though, because you hear these things, but these sort of things happening, but you think, well, if it's a ghostly horse, how the heck are the vibrations coming through the ground?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why isn't it just an auditory thing? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Or just the sensation, or a bit of a draft going past you, and the sound maybe, but to actually for something to reverberate through the ground as well makes it a bit more of a mystery, really, to me.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds almost like what they call these time slips, where it may have
Yeah, possibly.
some alternate reality. A horse really is running around in that location, and
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I'm really interested actually in time slips and stuff, and it makes you wonder if all these things are intertwined in some way. But it's when something like that happens to you, it kind of really makes you just know yourself then that there has to be something we don't understand.
Yeah, there's more to this than we can see. Yeah.
Yeah, but if somebody just told me about it, you sort of think, well, they might have been, But when it's actually happened to you, you kind of just know. You just know that there's something. Yeah,
that's right. And as a person hearing the story, your first sort of thought is, oh well, was there a horse in another field close by, and this, that, and the other? But really, that person who experienced that thing, they know damn well what happened.
Yeah, well, that's right. And like I say, I just know all those fields around there so well. I'd grown up there and everything. It's so familiar to me. I know there's the vicarage, and then there's a field that had a few sheep in it, and then there's a fence. And then the field that I was in, as I say, was just open. They hadn't even bothered putting a gate on it because nothing was ever kept in it.
Yeah.
And then the next field was crops. The one that I was walking towards was a little strip of woodland that we used to camp in as kids. I just know it like the back of my hand, and I know there's never, and to this day, never been horses kept in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing is, yeah, you could think that, well, a horse may have got out from somewhere else and got through and blah blah. But there was, say, I flicked this lamp on immediately, and yeah, nothing there at all.
Wow. So, heck of a story. Yeah. Which book was it? Will I be able to find this book somewhere?
I can't even remember the lady's name now. I'll tell you what. I'll message you later on. I'll message him because I can't even remember. I think her name was Rose, but I phoned her about 3 years, emailed her about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I can't remember 3 days ago.
And then spoke to her, and I suppose I'd be interested in seeing some of her books as well, but I've never looked at them. So I'll try and find out if I can. I'll send you a link over on WhatsApp.
Yeah, please do. That'd be really good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thanks ever so much for your call. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for listening.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheerio. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.
There we go. That's a horse is a horse, of course. Or horses for courses. Yes. Phantom, not just sounds, but sensations, vibrations through the ground. That's an odd one, isn't it? What do we think of that? Lots of chat going on in the chat. Lots of chat in the chat. Of course there is chat in the chat, isn't there? Yes, there is. It moves so fast. So fast. Have I missed anybody out? Emu Cat, I don't know if I said hello to you. Hello. Catonius, welcome as well. Dath Watsits, good evening, Dath. Welcome. Your accent is a mix of Lancashire and Cardiff, is it? I'll let everybody else be the judge of that. Shall I? James, hello, James. Welcome. Kazam is with us. Hello, Kazam. Welcome to the show. Ian, good evening, Ian. Ron. Ron's got stuff going missing by the sounds of what I can gather. Buster says old age or poltergeist. Yes. What else have I missed here? Hashy Larry. Hello, Hashy Larry. Welcome. And if I miss you out, I do apologize. It's such a lot of David Owens. Hello, David. Welcome. Jessen Friendy. Is that how we say that? Jessa Friendy. Hello and welcome to the show there. And oh, baby with a laser. And Tony as well. Hello, you guys. And welcome. Country folk seem more open to these experiences anyway, apparently. James Glass says that in the past, country folks would experience things and just accept it. My dad and great granny on my mum's side knew of the same ghost stories from Galloway, around Whitthorne and further west. Yes, I think that the country... Now, this is, oddly enough, the focus on the UK for the channel does include famous things, you know, Battersea Poltergeist and Loch Ness Monster and all that stuff. But there's an intriguing sort of sliver of sort of folkloric. I don't like the word folklore, although it's a genuine and reasonable and legitimate word to use, but it just makes something about the word folklore suggests made up, doesn't it? What I'm saying is there's a folkloric element in England of the countryside, hedgerows, fields, you know, little wooded areas, mountainous. There's a lot of strange spaces in the UK. And as much as you think about places like the American Northwest, our friend the Sasquatch knocking about, or the Himalaya, or the Himalaya, as Leonard Nimoy would pronounce it, that are sprawling and inaccessible sort of places. We do have those in England, but just on a smaller scale. And our folklore is on a more personal scale, I think. I think English folklore of monsters and creatures is on a much more personal scale than it is in many other places in the world, you know. In the Philippines, for example, you've got the Aswang, you know, which kidnaps babies or something. And it's known all around the Philippines. In Australia, you've got the bunyip and the yowie, but it's a Australian thing. But in the UK, and you know, in the UK in other countries there will be localized things, but to me the UK feels more personal in that you've got very specific. I mean, look at Black Annis, right? The Dane Hills. That's where Black Annis lives. There isn't a Black Annis everywhere around England. Black Annis is right there in that place. The trolls of Troller's Gill are in that place, you know. We do have the Black Hounds and things like that, but we have some very specific. We have Peg Powler, for example, Jenny Greenteeth, all those hags and beings that are localized into a place. And that's one of the really fascinating parts about the UK's mysteries, really. What about Billy Mayer? Yes, Jess and Friendly. So we have had a topic cluster this month on Nordic type aliens, let's call them, Space Brothers, the blonde ones. And I gather you yourself have had some experiences of those. I am not sure about Billy, personally, but there are some people that have experienced or have said they've experienced these Nordic types that I do tend to believe. Buster says, enough about my love life, get back to the calling. Yes, sorry, Buster, talking about the hags of England. No, not at all. Who, me? Never. What's this on email? Something's just come through on email. Let's see what this is. A pet theory regarding the Sandown clown. Okay, let's read this out. This is from Neil, who says, it was simply a homeless man. Okay, a pet theory of mine regarding the Sandown clown was that it was simply a homeless man with a physical disability living in a homemade shack in a relatively secluded area. The clown face the children described could simply be a mask to hide facial scarring or disfigurement. The colourful clothing he wore could be a DIY patch job on his withered clothing. The berry trick, that was an interesting part. The berry trick they claimed to have witnessed could have been a simple magic trick the man performed for the children that they thought was impossible. And the microphone and robotic voice could have been an electrolarynx. Ah, and his 3 fingers and toes can be explained by oligogactyly. This could also explain the strange message he wrote, I am all colours, Sam. Using a bit of imagination, it's possible his 3 digits made it hard to write. He didn't actually intend to write Sam, but son, a term of endearment in the UK and Ireland, particularly used by older men towards younger boys, who I theorise he was addressing out of the 2. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. I had never put the electrolarynx in the same sphere as the Sandown clown, but what an interesting take. I have entertained the notion that perhaps it was a bloke, a weird bloke, or something. But I've never considered an electrolarynx. What an interesting take. It's not a microphone at all. It's one of those voice boxes. It's a good one. Thank you for that, Neil. Thank you very much. What do we think about that one, chat? Paul says the Sandown clown is a great story. It is. It's probably my favourite. It's probably my favourite story. And of course, what's that chap's name now? Paul somebody. I've forgotten his name. A chap who was apparently got in touch with Faye, who was the little girl in the encounter, who has said she saw the Sandown clown, or Sam, as it were, several times after the event, for several years, actually. It is Baroque Lobster. It's quite compelling indeed to look at it that way. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yes. Stephen, what are the giants of which you speak? What are these giants? James is saying, yes, the massive remains of truly giant beings have been found, and astoundingly massive remains of trees that most folks think are worn pillars of rock. Let's have some pointers on some actual giants that have been found. I would like to know about that. Electrolarynx. Didn't they get to number 5 in the charts in the 80s? I think they did, yes. With Who the Boogaloo Are You? Yes, I remember that one. It was very catchy. Who thinks the Mothman and UK Owlman are the same cryptid? Now, this is an interesting one that Ashy Larry's bringing up, because there is another winged cryptid in the UK as well, the headless winged creature of Hythe. That one was accompanied by a UFO. But yes, the concept of creatures seen in different areas at different times, potentially being the actual same creature. This is something I'm very interested in sort of researching. If I had more time, I would have done it by now. But you're quite right. That's a decent question, is that? The flying clacker man, that's right. Yes. Oh, no, that was... Yes. I remember what that's about now, Bust. Clackerbag man. Yes, indeed. Sam sounds like some of those Mutwa African visitors. They're bizarre looking. What's that? What's that one? Is that where they call them the giant insects or something? Or is that something else? Please explain that one. I'd like to know about that. If we had a pub, what creature would we name it after? If we in the vault had a pub, what creature would we name it after? That is a fantastic question. It is. You've got a Griffin pub, have you? Yes. There was a story of an actual Griffin sighting in London near the Thames, you know. I think I did a short on it many videos ago. I think we're up to episode something like 122 coming out next. There was an account of a Griffin being seen and reported to the police in London near the Thames, of all people. What's a kangarilla pig? That sounds terrifying. Is it not like a man-bear pig then? Credo Mutwa, the shaman from South Africa. I will have to look that up. I want to know what that is. Yes, it was reported to the police. Yeah. The Griffin. Apparently it was nesting in a building or something. I must find it. I must dig it out. I'll see if I can find it during the break and play it somehow. Just crazy story. These odd stories that you find when you're sort of trawling newspaper archives for something cool to talk about. That one popped up. And, oh gosh, the Clapham Ape Man as well. Was another one. An ape man running around shop rooftops in Clapham. Yes. James says, I know folks have seen giant flying prehistoric creatures in the States. That's right. There have been lots of reports of those. And in England as well, funnily enough. There have been huge manta ray-shaped creatures reported. There have been sort of pterodactyl-type creatures and flying serpents as well reported in the UK. Really very, very interesting. And terrifying if you happen to see one, I'm quite sure. We're at the top of the hour even. Let's have one of those there breaks, shall we? To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. So I found the Griffin video. Here we go. Let's jump back. Let me prepare that scene again, because I don't think you can hear it. But I found the Griffin story. It's from 1985, believe it or not. Let's try and capture some audio output here. That one, let's say. And, oh, that's the Zoom, isn't it? Yes. Scene 2, desktop. Right, let's see if this works. And a mysterious flying animal has been sighted, fueling gossip that Brentford could have its own breed of Loch Ness monster nestling in the bushes opposite the new Waterman's Arts Centre. The bizarre giant bird has been seen several times, and some people believe it could be the legendary half-eagle, half-lion returning to the area where it has forged many historic links. One man says he's seen the mysterious creature fly over the River Thames twice, and other people are coming forward with similar sightings. So has the Griffin returned to its lair, and what are its roots in West London? Mr. Kevin Chippendale said, I saw it twice in the same place about 30 feet up by the Green Dragon Flats. The local branch of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds have not heard anything suspicious being spotted, and they even sent a photographer out to try and locate the beast, to no avail. Still, the Griffin might just be shy. It might just be shy. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. There you go, that's the story of the Griffin, the Brentford Griffin, actually, as it turned out. Who knows, eh? Maybe it really was there. So, what's Jessen Friendy asking? Question. Would you like to meet representatives of the Nordic breed? Would you like to be a contact person? Me? No. I'm happy with my, my video games and my cup of tea, I have to say. Hashy Larry has a similar answer there. But Jessen Friendy, do tell us about your experiences and your contacts that you have had. We've had our friend John, who was an early contributor to the show, who did email us quite a number of contact situations with the Nordic types. Is Nordic the right thing to say? What do they call themselves? That's what I'd like to know. What do they refer to themselves as? James says, Stephen says that Alaska, Northwest Canada are strongholds for giants. and people go missing up there. Well, of course, whose rule is that? Oh, there's a rule, isn't it, that says the further north you go, the larger the body size, because of the less loss of body heat. So creatures tend to be larger the further north you go. Whose rule is that? It's one of those, it's not Murphy's Law, but it's like that, if you know what I mean. I know how to do it if you're going to be the contact. Gosh. It all starts as fun and games and they want to run some tests. Yes, I don't fancy being a test subject, really. However, Jess and Freddie, I would be interested to know if you know the answer to this question. What do they refer to themselves as, and where do they say they come from? That I would really like to know. Because they can't possibly refer to themselves as the Nordics or the Space Brothers, surely. Surely there'd be some other thing that they call themselves. They must have a race or a species to which they belong. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's just me thinking in very human terms. Okay. It's all the top table till we get 500 in chat, which will happen at some point. Yes, we might do. We seem to skirt among the sort of 80 to 90 bracket for most of it. Would be nice to explode onto the scene, wouldn't it? But, you know, do we dilute the community as well? It's a big question. But yes, what do they refer to themselves as? Where do they come from? That's well, there are many other questions, aren't there? Why are they here? You know, what do they want? Is it tourism or something like that? Who knows? Excuse me while I take a sip of brew. That's tea. A brew of tea. No sugar in the tea. And no caffeine either. Not at this time of night. Anyway, I end up jittery enough as it is to some of the stuff we talk about on this show. I'm going straight to bed after this. The Pleiades Star Group. Now, I'm interested in this. Pleiades Star Group. Where is it? Is it a thing? So that's the Seven Sisters, is it? Let's look at Wiki, shall we? Although you can get castigated for looking at Wiki, can't you? Why are they so blonde, says Emu Cat. There was a redhead too in your upload last week. There was indeed. That was the Antonio V.S. Boas case, where he said there was a female with red hair. A lot of them have blonde hair, of course. The Pleiades, also known as Seven Sisters and Messier 45, is an asterism of an open star cluster containing young B-type stars. An asterism is an observed pattern or group of stars in the sky, which can be any identified star pattern and therefore are a more general concept than the 88 formally defined constellations. Constellations are based upon asterisms, but unlike asterisms, constellations are defined regions. Okay, so this is what the Pleiades is. At a distance of about 444 light years. Now, what's the math? What's the maths on that then? Is that literally? How does light years work? That may seem like an entry-level question for Mr. Eerie to be asking, but is it literally, if it's 444 light years away, it takes 440 years to get here if you travel at the speed of light? Is that what that means? I think it does. It's a heck of a way, isn't it? This cluster is dominated by hot blue luminous stars that have formed within the last 100 million years. Reflection nebulae around the brightest stars were once thought to be leftover material from their formation, but are now considered likely to be an unrelated dust cloud in the interstellar medium. The origin of the name is, of course, Greek. You can probably tell it's Greek. It probably derives from plain, how would you say that in Greek? Plain, to sail, because of the cluster's importance in delimiting the sailing season in the Mediterranean Sea. The season of navigation began with their heliacal rising. In classic Greek mythology, the name was used for 7 divine sisters called the Pleiades. In time, the name was said to be derived from that of a mythical mother, Pleione, effectively meaning daughters of Pleione. In reality, the ancient name of the star cluster related to sailing almost certainly came first in the culture. Naming of a relationship to the sister deities followed, and eventually appearing in later myths. So it's an actual place because, you know, a lot of they come from this star system or that star system. I often don't look it up to see is that a real star, unless I'm researching a video, of course. Of course I would look it up for you guys, wouldn't I? But, you know, we've had Venusians. We are from Venus. We've had that in the past. We've had the Pleiades system, certainly. I think there were a couple of other systems that Billy Meyer suggested. And, oh, what is that other chap called? There was another chap who cropped up in my research. What was his name? I am just loading up my records here to say topics, no, formats, diary. Here we are. What was his name? Stefan Denerde, or however that's pronounced, Stefan Denerde, who saw humanoid figures, was contacted by them, but they certainly were not the Nordic types. They had human features, but the drawing I've seen of these, gosh, I need to find this for you now. The drawing I've seen of these, they almost look like a short-faced horse. Goodness me, does anybody know about this? Stefan Denerde, or Denard, it's French or something. I can't say French names in my accent. I cannot. Oh my God, this thing, I wouldn't want to, I would not want to meet this thing. I'm going to save this picture and I'm going to pop it up in my usual clunky, difficult with technology way, all right? So bear with me. Because it's a little bit fiddly for me. We save the picture there. We head to a new scene here. We import an image. I'm on OBS, by the way, if anybody's interested. I know some of you helped me begin, in the beginning days of the stream, you helped me with my OBS setups. I remember when I wasn't getting any sound or anything. Goodness me, right, I'm going to put this chap on screen. You tell me if you would like to meet him or not. I must just add the microphone so that I can still speak to you when I change. What's its? Yes, what's its? Here he is. What do we think of this chap here? So this is a chap called Denard, I think I said. It was first published in Dutch, this story, in 1969, and it's actually gone through about 11 editions as this book, I think. It's been published as science fiction up to now because the publisher generally felt that the story would not sell as fact. Nevertheless, it is said to be a true account of real events. The witness is a known multinational industrialist whose name would be immediately recognized. I didn't know who he was. But his experience was real and was identified. Apparently, this is according to Alternative Wiskunde, a Netherlands website. I only speak a very small amount of that language. Actually, probably only one word, which was Danko L. I think that's all I can speak in the Netherlands. I probably remember, but Dankuel was what I remember. Anyway, this race is called the Lagans, apparently. The Lagans. And I don't fancy meeting him. I don't think they were violent, vicious, nothing like that. But what a strange looking creature. I don't know if it's actually showing you the picture. Is anybody seeing this picture? Oh, yes, it is. It is. Look at him. He looks a bit sorry for himself, doesn't he? What's this coming through on WhatsApp? I have a... It is absolutely okay to call in, sir, with your gnome story. Yes, it is. Please do. Please do interrupt my waffling at any time with your gnome story. There we go. Sit tight, ladies and gents. We have a gnome story coming in. I want to hear it. Tiffany says he has kind of sincere eyes. Would be interesting to try to bridge the void and communicate. Darren would talk to him too. Yes. Is that a donkey alien? Yes, it does have a sort of short-faced horse sort of vibe to it, doesn't it? Fleur says he looks nice. I would talk to him. There you go. Looks a bit sad, yeah. Were there any other images of it? There's another one, but they're very similar. Yeah. Not sure I would want to meet such a creature. But apparently this chap did. The Lagans compared their society and their philosophies to those of Earth, and they described advanced technologies and the witnesses' place in the greater universe, and they apparently discussed what was in store for all of us in the future. And these communications continued and ultimately developed into a sort of mechanical transmission from a technical device aboard a spacecraft to the mind of the witness, something like the way it was done during his visit aboard the spacecraft at one time, except that now the pictures were transmitted into his mind instead of viewing them on a screen. We have a call coming in. Bear with me. Let's switch. Good evening. You're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm calling from Houston, and there's a UFO that showed up here around 2010 or so, and nobody ever talks about it. What it looked like 3 stars way up in the sky, but if you watched it, one of the stars would turn off, and it would slowly rotate, and then that star would turn back on in a different location. And this was seen for months and months and months. But the problem is, if you try to Google it, if you Google triangle UFO over Houston, you only can find results for the classical big black triangle that everybody's familiar with.
I just did it as you were speaking, and yes, there's so that's not the one then that's coming up.
Correct. Now, it looked like stars in the sky. It was really far away. It was around 2010 or so. I saw it. Multiple people I know saw it. But they would slowly rotate, and one of them, it would blink off, and then it would blink back on in a different location. Very, very bizarre.
Very odd. What colors were the lights? Were they different colors or all the same?
No, they were all the same. They looked just like stars. They were just the same color. They were white. But they would also stay so satellites move through the sky in a straight line. These would stay in a fixed spot in the sky.
Yes.
And this wasn't just for one night or 2 nights. This went on for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Oh, really? Gosh.
Yeah. Very strange.
And were there any sounds accompanying this, or was it all sort of just visual, or?
Just visual, no sound. It looked like it was in outer space. It looked really, really, really far away. But I know one person that they kind of got obsessed with it, and they would just drive because they kind of, I guess, didn't believe in UFOs, and they thought maybe it's a plane, maybe it's I don't know what, and they would just drive for hours watching it, trying to figure out what was going on. Anyways, thank you for taking my call, and thanks for your time. I appreciate what you do. It's a really great show.
Thank you, sir, from Houston. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheerio. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are a global station, Are we not? Thank you for that call, sir. A UFO in Houston. I Googled it. I did it as the chap was talking, and indeed there are triangular ones, but goodness me, I can imagine one becoming obsessed actually with, if you've seen something like that. Now, I had an experience a couple of nights ago actually, but it was nothing. But it made me understand how, if you did see something weird in the sky, how easily you could go down that rabbit hole and become, well, obsessed with it. I can well imagine jumping in the car and trying to track the thing. Where's it going? Where's, even if you're trying to debunk it, but I was in the backyard, maybe a couple of days ago now, and we have a big blue umbrella, and the winds have been so strong lately, especially up here. I mean, it's virtually Scotland here, and Scotland gets terrible weather, but up here, it's close to the sea, and there's a bit of woodland that shields you from one side, but it's just open from the side of the ocean. So things blow around the yard, right? They blow all over the place. We had this big blue umbrella, and it had fallen over and come apart. So I was standing it back up and sort of putting it back together, and I looked upwards because the thing is about 12 feet tall, this thing. That's probably an exaggeration. Probably 10 feet, though. And I'm screwing it back together, and I look up, and it wasn't a craft. It wasn't what you would think of as the classical UFO experience. It was a very straight line. It almost looked like a laser beam had shot across the sky very, very quickly, very, very briefly. And when I looked for it, it was gone. I immediately began searching the sky then. Immediately, and I was really convinced I'd seen something, I don't think I had, when I think of it. It was really quite white, almost silver, emu cat. I think it was probably something like, what's it called? Starlink or something like that. I think it was something like that. Very fleeting. You're talking tenths of a second that I saw it. And then that, of course, makes you wonder, well, did I see it at all? Let me just reply to this message quickly. Yes, please do. Could have been a UFO, could have been something in my eye, could have been a spider web stretched across some of the larger trees that were sort of, some of the larger trees that are next to the sort of summer house. We have a call coming in now. I think it's about gnomes. Let's find out.
We have a call coming in now.
Good evening. You are on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome.
I think it's about gnomes. Let's find out.
You're all right, Eerie?
Now then. You may have to You may have to mute your PC or whatever.
I've just muted it.
Ah, right. Well, I can still hear myself.
So yeah, I've got this gnome story, right? And honestly, it's totally serious. It was about 20 years ago, and we were up in Llangollen with me mates. There was 3 of us in the car, and we were driving down a country lane. We'd been out at the top of a mountain all night, and we were just driving down about 4:30 in the morning, and there's bushes, there's fields either side, big fields, nothing else, and just like hedgerows either side. And we're driving down, and this fella comes out. Well, I say fella, 3 feet tall, all dressed in green, right, with a green hat on, a big white beard, and a small golden harp, right. And he pops out of this hedgerow in front of the car, so we have to stop the car. He walks across the road in front of us. We carry on dead slowly watching him, and he just disappeared into the edge. So that's my story, mate. What can I say? I saw a gnome.
Incredible.
Yeah, three of us, we all saw him, and it was just weird. It was just weird, mate. He was only about 3 foot, and he had a small golden harp, which was the weird thing.
That is the weird. I mean, it's weird anyway, but a small golden harp. Gosh.
Yeah, man. Well, that's my story anyway. Just thought I'd call in and share it with you.
Fabulous. I love it.
You're all right, mate. Sound.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one. Ta-ra, mate.
Cheerio.
Ta-ra.
Wow. Now that is unusual. We've heard stories about little folk before. We've heard stories about them with beards. We have heard stories about them being about 3 feet tall. The Wallerton gnomes, for example, were about 3 feet tall, which, you know, in that story, they're referred to as gnomes. So you tend to think leprechaun, don't you, or garden gnome. You think something small, but 3 feet tall to a kid for the Wallerton gnomes story is pretty big and would have been frightening. But we've heard these archetypes before. Never have I heard of one with a golden harp in my life. Nor have I heard anything like that recounted so cheerfully as well. What do we make of that? Little people seem to like to run around in wooded places all around the world, says Tiffany. Yes, they certainly do. Excuse me. Spooky Things says, I have a crazy ghost story to share. Emailed it to Eerie some time ago. Might call in about it one day. Did I read that out for you, Spooky Things, already? Or are you waiting for me to read something? If you are, I apologise. You might have to send it again. Was it the Diddy men working in the Jambutti mine, says Paul Williams. There you go. One never knows. Golden harp. I wish he'd played it. I wish he'd played the harp. That'd have been cool. But yes, we heard a story on one of the earlier shows about little people who look like crofters, didn't we? In fact, you know, the little men, little people stories are all, and this is what I was sort of saying about earlier, where our English folklore, or let's say British rather, our British folklore is very personal and localized, and many of the little people stories really do live in just that area, if you understand what I mean by that. They really are sort of bespoke. Man with a pan says he was going gnome. Yes, very good. Yes. Where was he going with the harp? You know? I've never heard that before. I've heard of them with sort of tools, hammers, things like that. But never with another musical instrument, actually. I would love to do a deep dive on that sort of topic. But you see, there is such an enormity of things that I want to do a deep dive on. I just don't have the time to do it all. We'll get round to it all, won't we? I'm sure. Let's take this call, shall we? Hello, you are on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ian. It's Ian here.
Hello, Ian. Welcome. How are you?
Not so bad, thank you. You?
I'm getting there.
Good, yes. Right, yeah, well, I've got another interesting experience, and I think it hits the name you've given it tonight for the high strangeness.
Good. Is it another one with a question mark at the end, or are you more sure about this one?
Well, no, not more sure about it. Definitely not. It's very interesting. But I don't have a question mark on it because there's a different sort of title I've given it this time.
I see. Yeah.
Right. So let's have a look. Okay. Well, I've called this one "I Only Wanted to Get Home," and at this time, around 2014, 2015, I had recently moved house from the north to the south of Sheffield. And I was sitting 2 or 3 seats back from the front on the top deck of a bus on my way home from work. And the bus was heading east along a parkway toward a roundabout, and on the other side of the road, the flashing lights of the emergency services could be seen as they attended a road traffic collision. Then, as the bus passed the scene, I heard a voice saying something. I didn't take a lot of notice at first, thinking it was a fellow bus user or users. Then it was repeated, louder this time, and apparently from the seat on my right. I only wanted to get home, it said. I looked around, but the only other bus users were on the back seats. I then heard the voice repeat itself again, but I still couldn't see anyone. And at that point, I began to feel quite dizzy and strange, and as this occurred, the scene darkened and changed. The bus faded out, and in its place was a very different scene. I found myself in a circular cave-like area, and in front of me was an arched entranceway, in which was a dark opening with red curtains hanging to each side. As I looked around and upwards, I could see a cupola-like construction, which had, again, a dark opening in the centre of it. Then, as I looked back toward the ground, to my left was the apparent figure of a youngish man wearing a shirt, pants and shoes. His hair was curly and he wore spectacles. And as I looked at him, he said, "I'm Jeff." I'm calling him this, but I can't remember the actual name. He said it was something like that. And I only wanted to get home. So I asked him what had happened. I was speeding and collided with another car. And then I realised that he must be a casualty from the road traffic collision. And on thinking further, I came to the conclusion that he must have been killed and that I was looking at a new spirit. And at this point he explained that he was wanting to see his wife and daughter, and that was why he was speeding. Then he said he didn't know where he was or what to do next. Quietly, I broke it to him that he was now deceased, and, as I conjectured, that he was in transition between the two states of alive and dead. As I finished saying that, a bright searchlight-like illumination flashed down from the opening in the cupola, and at this point Jeff broke down with the stress and started screaming. Then, in my head, a voice said, "Get him into the light." So I spoke gently to Jeff, saying that he needed to calm down and move into the light. Jeff looked at me and appeared to be rational again. "Will I be able to see my wife and daughter?" I said that I didn't know, and that he would have to ask when he got to where he was going. He seemed to accept this and questions, "I need to go into the light." I told him, yes. And at that point he walked nervously over and into the light. And as he did so, he instantly disappeared and the light snapped off. I was now left on my own, once more looking at the red curtained opening. I began to wonder if a light would come from that if the spirits were going down rather than up. And as these thoughts were going through my mind, I began to feel a strange sensation from earlier, and as I did so, the opening in the cave disappeared and I found myself back on the bus. So,
gosh, so that is a very, very different encounter, I suppose, for you.
It is, yes, very different to the others.
Yeah, you ended up somewhere yourself.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
See, there's a lesson there for everybody, isn't there, on the roads? Just be careful on the roads.
Oh, I think so, yes, definitely.
The things you see these days, the risks people take. So,
yes.
How very sad for him. How very sad
indeed,
for all of them, really, you know.
Well, yes, indeed, yes.
But to have, I wonder what the cave thing was, and the red curtains.
Yeah, the red curtains, yeah, exactly. I mean, and as I was saying, I was thinking, you know, as he was taken upwards, we're looking to, well, for want of better words, heaven and hell, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, if they've been taken up towards the cupola, like entity, shall we say, or whatever.
Yes.
And go upwards, and then maybe, as I say, you know, if it was that on that one there, the red curtains, if they're being taken downwards, you know, for some
if you're going the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
A red curtain to me suggests a performance of some description as well.
Yes, yeah, indeed, could well be, because I mean, because it does seem something like that when you sort of read through these things and think, well, it does sound something like a repeated play of sorts. Yes, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
Almost of a grand gesture. I wonder why you were the one who. Do you think it was a choice to speak to you, or did you happen to just be there?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, really. I mean, I think it happens that these spirits, I think they're drawn to people who might have some knowledge about these things, you know. And I have, well, with the TS, of course, obviously I've looked into these things, and I do know about that, about you know, helping out spirits and so on to pass over. And so I did have some knowledge about it, though I'd never actually ever done it before. But as I would probably be seen as being the only person on the bus there that would be able to assist, if you like.
It's the spiritual afterlife equivalent of, is there a doctor on the plane, I suppose?
Yes, exactly, yes, that sort of thing, exactly, yeah. And I think, yes, and I think that's probably why. And so instantly I was taken up, and because presumably there needs to be some sort of catalyst, if you like.
Yeah, some impetus.
Yes, to cause this change, you know, the transition, or help out with the transition energy. So you need the energy to help it out.
I see. So you're almost supplying a charge of some sort.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you feel it afterwards? Did you notice a sort of physical effect on yourself after?
Oh yes. I felt very drained actually, well, I was actually shaking and tearful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Because it was a very emotional experience.
Yes.
In the first place, I mean, without the addition of other things, you know.
Of course.
But yeah, exactly. So, of course, when I got home, I instantly got the whiskey out and sat down, you know.
And digest that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And, well, at least, you know, I mean, at least I was very happy I was able to help.
Of course,
in that way,
yeah.
But it was, and the voice in my head, that suddenly came in as well, and that, so I don't know who that was or where that came from exactly.
Yes, because that's somebody providing instruction, isn't it, to you? Saying, get him into the light.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah. Who on earth was that?
Yeah, indeed. And I didn't see anyone or anyone else. Just saying of that telepathic resonance, if you like, in my head.
So at the time then, in 2015, when Jeff asks the question, can I see my wife and child again? And you basically say, I don't know. You'll have to ask when you get there. In the intervening sort of 10 or 11 years, would your answer to that question have changed, do you think?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all, no, because I am still it's still a mystery. Like I said, just exactly where he would be going and whether he would be able to ask someone whether that's the case. But there's the fact that, I mean, going to what I was saying earlier a few weeks ago, I think, about how, you know, the spirits do come back and, you know, they say that they don't have a lot of time, but they need to be able to do and to see this or that or see this and that.
Yeah.
And they do appear, you know, after at a certain time after transition or during transition or after transition, and they, you know, they're just there to see their loved ones, if you like, and for you know, can't say, well, I won't say it was the last time, because before, as we were saying about how, where we're talking about that chap who was talking about spirits having jobs and things like that.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yes, where they get the job, so they have to assist new spirits, in that changeover. So perhaps at that point there, when he will get the chance to ask, if he can have a bit of time to go. And,
I see. Yeah. It's a hell of a topic that's at once terrifying and fragile and wonderful. It's such a mix of states that your mind goes through when you consider all of this.
Yes, indeed, yes.
And of course, one of the outcomes of that is that cave area, or just that moment, the last vestige of your attachment to life on Earth is the memory that you had the wife and you had the child, but your last thing you can think is, will I see them again? You're just so unaware of what's actually happening to you right there and then.
Well, that's right, yes, because he was very bewildered, obviously. Yes. Because for 1 minute he was doing that, and of course the next minute, so it's a bit of a shock, isn't it?
It is, and then you're back into the realms of consciousness surviving bodily death, of course, then. And all of those fascinating philosophical areas of discussion.
Yes, indeed, yeah, very much so, yeah. I mean, definitely, because though he was very good, I say he was very good that he managed to gain a bit of control very quickly, which was good, because it made things easier.
Yeah.
I mean,
imagine imagine having them fight you.
Yes, well, exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
they were thinking, "I'm not going."
Yes.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah, it could have been really difficult.
Goodness me. Yeah, it could have been a very different story. I'm still baffled by the cave itself. Very performative it feels, but the red curtains. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. But strangely, the other where the light came from, that bit by the cupola, that didn't actually have any curtains on it at all.
Okay.
Just the round cupola bit, and then the dark space was in the middle of that.
It's like a spotlight on a stage. How very odd.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Almost
sorry, yeah.
Almost symbolic of birth, really.
Yes, yeah. So maybe a new birth, if you like. Yeah. Into a new state.
Whatever that might be.
Whatever it might be, yes, indeed.
Well, let's not rush to find out, Ian. Let's
No, let's not. Indeed, absolutely not. Yeah, true indeed.
Yes. Well, yeah. Thank you very much for the call, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll speak to you later.
Certainly will. Thank you, Ian. Cheerio.
Yeah, okay. Cheerio. Good night.
There we are. What an odd sort of theatrical feel to that encounter. And I'm going to call that one an encounter because it feels like that's the correct term for what happened there. We have another call coming in. We're into the last 10 minutes of the show, ladies and gents. Hello, you are on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Eerie.
Hello, Flair. Now, don't scare me and tell me that there's a voice speaking on my show.
Yes. Now, when Ian was talking about the gentleman who he had seen on the bus, there's a male voice. It's too low for me to actually understand what it's saying, but it was so like who. I couldn't really understand it, but yes, there is actually a voice there. I don't know whether you heard it or Ian heard it, but there is a voice there, and I've actually gone back, and I can hear a man with a very, very low, a very low voice. So I was like, what is that?
It wasn't me, was it?
No, it was just, because at first I thought it was you saying, oh my goodness, or something like that in a very low voice, and then I just like, that is too, it's like, it sounds like mine, who, my, it was really weird. It wasn't coming from your end. It was coming from Ian's end.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm certainly not going to re-listen to that at this time of night. I will do that in the daylight, I think.
It's, if you do want to listen to it, it's when he mentions, it was when he was going through the crash, and you can hear like a very loud, again, a really loud voice, very low, booming voice. You can hear it for like a couple of seconds, and then it just goes away.
Oh gosh, has anybody in chat heard this? I would be very interested to know.
Because I'm going to see if I can get it on my tablet.
Okay. This could terrify us all now. Of course, all these clips will end up on Eerie's Vault Live's second channel, the Open Lines channel, so the full interview will be on there.
The bus was heading east along a parkway.
Obviously, you can hear Ian's voice.
On the other side of the road, the flashing lights of the emergency services could be seen as they attended a road traffic collision.
I've got deja vu. Is anybody else?
Then, as the bus passed the scene, I heard a voice saying something. I didn't take a lot of notice at first, thinking it was a fellow bus user or users. Then it was repeated, louder this time, and apparently from the seat on my right. I only wanted to get home, it said. I looked around, but the only other bus users were on the back seats. I then heard the voice repeat itself again, but I still couldn't see anyone. And at that point, I began to feel quite dizzy and strange. And as this occurred, the scene darkened and changed. The bus faded out, and in its place was a very different scene. I found myself in a circular cave-like area, and in front of me was an arched entranceway, in which was a dark opening with red curtains hanging to each side. As I looked around and upwards, I could see a cupola-like construction, which had, again, a dark opening in the centre of it.
It is coming off.
Then, as I looked back toward the ground, to my left was the apparent figure of a youngish man, wearing a shirt, pants and shoes. His hair was curly and he wore spectacles. And as I looked at him, he said, "I'm Jeff." I'm calling him this, but I can't remember the actual name. He said it was something like that. And I only wanted to get home. So I asked him what had happened. I was speeding and collided with another car. And then I realised that he must be a casualty from the road traffic collision. And on thinking,
there we go. There it is.
Oh, I did hear something there.
Yeah, that's what caught my attention, because I'm like, that is not from your side. That isn't a voice that Ian's making. And that just freaked me out for a second.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, I could hear it, and I had to stop and pause and just redo it several times and go, where in the world did that come from?
Goodness me. Are we having a live happening, says Emu Cat, and Hashy Larry says it's EVP caught live on air. Goodness.
Yeah, it's like, at first I was like, is it just my imagination? I'm like, no, I heard that. Everybody else can now hear it.
Dear me. If you have the time, would you mind emailing me the timestamp for that?
I will take a little. I'll be able to take a look. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and then we'll have a look.
Usually, I'll go and have a look. Obviously, when when it goes to well, I will take it in. I will get the timestamp. But yeah,
Thank you.
It's actually kind of freaked me out.
You've got a habit of calling up just before I'm going to bed and scaring me. You know this, don't you?
I know. I know. Today I wasn't actually going to phone in because I'm not feeling so good, but that noise was like, bloody hell, that sounds like something.
Good Lord, yes.
But no, we'll try to have good dreams. We'll try to have a good sleep.
Yes, we just won't. We won't think about it.
Out.
I think what I'll do is I think I'm going to watch The Golden Girls and then go to bed after that.
Oh, that's interesting because I love The Golden Girls. It was one of my sister's favorites.
Oh, isn't it
fabulous? I like
fabulous?
watching that.
Yeah, I do too.
But no, I'm glad I caught that because I was like, I wonder if Eerie could hear it.
No, I did not. It's a very good catch.
But now we've had something weird happen on the show.
We have. We should be on the news, shouldn't we? Really, for that. But yes.
But that is like, well, that's weird. But anyway, I thought I'd phone in to just let you see if anybody could hear that. I'm like, if now everybody can hear it, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, some people have agreed in the chat. They heard it with your replay. Mm.
Yep, if they go back and listen to what Ian's saying when he starts talking about Jeff, you hear it. And it's not anything added to there. It wasn't from you, wasn't from me, and so I'm like, Ian, if you're out there, I think we might have to catch an EVP from you. Oh dear.
Well
anyway,
spotted.
Ian,
well spotted, Flair. Well spotted.
You have a good night, Eerie, just try not to have nightmares.
No, I won't. That's how they used to say on Crime Watch, isn't it? Don't have nightmares. Yep. Yeah, that's right. I'll try my best. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care, Eerie.
Cheerio.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Bye. Yes, Baroque Lobster says, I'm not replaying it. I've heard enough from the replaying of the call. Goodness me. What a thing to end on. And end we must, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, I want to draw your attention to the second channel where we are archiving all of the live calls as individual videos. So rather than scrubbing through a 2, sometimes 3 hour stream, you can just find the exact calls as individual videos. There is the link in the chat right now. If you haven't subscribed to that yet, just drop a subscription, please. It doesn't cost a penny, of course. It just signals to YouTube that people are interested in the channel. I think there are 77 subscribers at the moment with 6 videos, and there's plenty more. There's so much material coming out of the Eerie's Vault shows that they've now got their own special channel to be archived on. I want to thank all my callers again. Some incredible calls there. I'm still baffled by the small harp on a gnome. Thank you all ever so much for your calls. Chat, thank you ever so much for your presence, your contribution, your absolute stardom in the chat there. I can see it buzzing away. Head over to that second channel. Drop a subscribe, and thank you all. Don't forget, there is also a patrons chat where there's a sort of community building on Patreon as well. So that's any time of day you can nip on there and you can chat to other patrons about anything you want. Really, that's what it's for. It's like the chat here, but obviously it's always available. So there you go. And that's where Buster actually told me about the Bigfoot documentary that was coming on. And there are other perks and things over on Patreon as well. I will pop a link to that, actually. I realise that I mention things, but tend not to link to them. So here is the Patreon link. If there's a free option as well, if anybody wants to have a look at it, there's a free option. It's not all about money. So there you go. Thanks, everyone, once again. Look after yourselves and all the little animals in your life, all the little cats and the dogs and all of the pets and each other. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. That will be, I think, the 10th, if my aging brain is correct. And of course, look out for tomorrow's new video, which is the full investigation of the Carol Thomas abduction, to round off our month of Nordic aliens before we segue into the mantid beings for a month, where we are going to do a deep dive on that. So tomorrow's video, it's at, I think, 5 p.m. GMT, is about a British abduction scenario. 2 women from Birmingham who found themselves relaying a story that they had been abducted by aliens, one of which was a blonde-haired, human-looking alien, the rest of which were sort of little grey things. That's going out tomorrow night at 5 p.m. GMT. Everybody, thank you so much. See you in 2 weeks.